Welcome back to the Milk Carton Series. I'm your host Stephanie, and today we have another video for you guys. So today we will be discussing 26-year-old Courtney Holden, missing from the Spokane, Washington area. She has been missing since July 1st of 2018. Now, investigators in this case believe that Courtney is deceased, but nonetheless, I still wanted to share her story because she's still missing. There has not been anything to turn up regarding her disappearance. Courtney was born on February 28, 1992. She entered the foster care system at a very young age, and she ended up getting into the foster care home of Judy Holden. And then shortly after, she was adopted by Judy. Judy and her husband were known in the community to take in a lot of foster care children. And it had gotten to a point that many believed that she was only doing it for monetary gain. Now, a lot of foster care people do this. I mean, this isn't anything new. And a lot of people truly do not care for the children that they take in. Many children have suffered from physical and sexual abuse in the care of the individuals that they're supposed to be trusting. At the time of her disappearance, Courtney was living with Judy, her adopted brother, Joshua. Joshua had moved back home with his mother after, I guess, his dad or something got divorced. But nonetheless, he was living in the home with Joshua. She was living in the home with Joshua and Judy. Joshua is known for having erratic behavior. He also has schizophrenia and has an extensive police record. Also been accused of rape in 2003 and one time in 2005. In the later case of 2005, police were about to get DNA evidence for him when the victim actually recanted her statement. Judy and Joshua gave Courtney the name Sydney, or also known as Cinderella. If you guys ever watched that movie about the stepchild who moves in and does so many chores, and this was kind of what Courtney was currently going through. She was not allowed to leave the home. She was not allowed to talk to people. They installed cameras. Like, it had gotten ridiculous to the point this almost grown woman, well, she is grown, this grown woman could not even live a life. They made this girl do so much work. It was ridiculous, especially for being in the family, and you're coming from, you're coming into the family as a foster child, and then they kind of like are doing these different things. You want to be loved. Can only imagine what her mental state was. Neighbors had reported that Courtney had complained or confided in them about what had been going on in this home. It had been stated that Joshua was reportedly beating on her, and they wouldn't allow her to have any cell phone usage, of course. They wouldn't allow her to do anything that a normal human being would do. And she also would state how out of control Joshua had been living in that house. And many visitors had stated, because Courtney also had a son, it had been reported that neighbors would say the son was supposed to call Judy and Joshua mom and daddy, and they were to call Courtney by her name, which is so weird. Last time anyone had ever truly seen Courtney had to be sometime in the summer of July of 2018. They reported that Courtney rushed out the home with a big duffel bag and reportedly saying that she did not want to stay here anymore, and that Joshua had came outside of the home and picked her up aggressively and carried her back inside the house. At the time, the last time she was seen, it had been reported that Joshua put up these big lights in the backyard, and he was apparently putting up swings or something in the backyard at night. And the neighbors found this very odd, that he was building something in the middle of the night. He probably did that to try to cover his tracks. So when people would ask where was Courtney, they would basically lie. They would basically say, oh, she's traveling with a boyfriend, she's doing this. Every time someone would ask where Courtney was, their explanations had changed. She wasn't reported missing for over a year and a half after her disappearance on October 8th of 2019. And the only reason she was reported missing is because it is to believe that the girlfriend of her son's father basically wanted to do a welfare check on Courtney because they had not heard from her at all. And as reports would come out, Courtney had full legal custody of the child because the father was dealing with substance abuse. Police arrived at the home Judy and Joshua did not want to cooperate with the police. And this is when the missing person case begins to start, because they did not report this girl missing for almost 2 years. And if it wasn't for the girlfriend saying anything, because they hadn't seen her nor talked to her. The sad thing about it is, it's sad that it even took 2 years. But again, she was in the foster care system, so she probably really doesn't have a lot of friends and family. But on the day Courtney went missing, Judy and Joshua withdrew $600 out of Courtney's bank account. So then that same day, someone had called into the crime line and spoke to a dispatcher pretending to be Courtney. But it later turned out that it was actually the adopted sister who then never said why she pretended to be Courtney. So on October 9th of 2019, the girlfriend of the dad basically said when she would go and visit the son, she never seen Courtney. That made me wonder, like, okay, so you didn't report this girl missing for 2 years? Like, dang, y'all ain't even go see the son? Because when I was reading it, I was like, hold on. October 10th, police were allowed to go and search Judy and Joshua's home. When they went into the home was filled with cluster everywhere. It was an utter mess, nasty, disgusting. And when they went into Courtney's room, her room was also a mess, but her bed didn't have any sheets on it. It was bare naked. And when they tried to go into the son's room, she did not allow them to go in there, and that's when they reportedly been kicked out. Also got some of the footage of the video, but it only showed that they went to the grocery store and they were using Courtney's food stamps. And then when the police came back to talk to Joshua, he didn't want to talk to the police. On October 24th, police finally got a search warrant to search the home. But guess what? These fools done moved out of this home, y'all. So, of course, Judy and Joshua took their cats, dogs, blah, blah, blah. They took the security footage. But police were able to get some evidence. They were able to get, of course, Courtney's IDs. There was a lot of mail. In mid-November, Judy and Joshua's cell phones were disconnected, but they ended up having new Texas cell phone numbers that same day they disconnected their old cell phone. So a month after Joshua and Judy vacate their home, there had been reported from neighbors that there's some activity going on in the home. Come to find out, Judy's daughter was in the home with her husband, keep looking at the home, I guess, the upkeep, whatever. But when they were questioned, they told police that they hadn't seen Courtney in over 2 years and that Judy was off on her retirement. But then there was a lot of contradiction when it came about the whereabouts of Courtney's son. They basically said that he was off somewhere, but come to find out, he was actually with Judy and Joshua. So on December 19th of 2019, police find their little simple tails in Plano, Texas. And Courtney's son was with them. But sadly, he was placed into, of course, protective service, before he was returned home to his father. They were charged with identity theft, custodial interference, because they took, the son, and then also because they went into her bank account. So that was only really the main reason why they could get them, which is a good thing. So it's kind of a good thing they went into her bank account and took some of her money, because then they were able to lock their little booties up. Despite them searching the home in Texas, there was nothing that turned up of the whereabouts of Courtney at all. And it's truly sad, because it makes you wonder, what the hell did they do to her? What did they do that, what did she do furthermore to make you want to do something to her? In March 2020, their lawyer basically wanted all charges dropped. At the time, they were fighting to be taken back to Washington. And the lawyer was basically trying to figure out what has happened to Courtney as well, hoping that they would say something. But in light of COVID, the lawyer wanted Judy to get out because, I guess because of her age or whatever. But the only way the judge would do that was if the police department would confirm that Courtney's son was actually safe. So she was released, and Joshua, he was actually taken back to Texas for jail time. So the police have done everything that they could to try to find where exactly Courtney is. And of course, they believe foul play has been involved because there has not been any new information regarding where she is. No new leads have popped up regarding her. And I mean, it makes sense that they did something to her, because why on earth would you flee if you didn't do anything to harm her? And you took her away from her son and her son away from her. Like, what was the purpose? You were already mooching off of her. What was the purpose? I just don't understand it. I don't think that it makes sense to me. And it's bad enough you were already abusive to this girl, and then you probably killed her. And it has been said that Courtney would never leave her child. She would never abandon him and leave him. So we already know how this story has gone, but it's truly sad because it makes zero sense as to why. But you know, some people, they're just like that. You know, they want to place harm on other individuals because their life isn't going the way it has been planned. But Courtney is listed as 5'5" to 5'7", around 150 to 170 pounds. She is Native American. She has brown eyes with black hair. And she's still missing. There has not been any new reports on her disappearance. And it's sad to say that she is most likely dead, but she deserves to be found. Her son deserves to know what has happened to her. If he doesn't know what has happened to her, because he probably seen it. But nonetheless, her life matters as well. So I'm really hoping that some new information turns up regarding Courtney. So guys, until the next video, I'll see you. Sending her family love and light. Bye-bye.